Hello and welcome to Formula One Fans of America. This is episode 8. We're going to kick off. We have a guest, new face. Hello, Megan. Friend of the show, new admin on the page. So yeah, thanks for joining us. Quick intros. I'm Rich. I do like sort of the hosting and producing of this show. I partnered up with some friends of mine that are very smart and very analytical. And we just love nerding out about F1. And it's going very well, and I love doing it. So it's a good hobby and good project. So with us, we have Jay. Go ahead and, we'll kick around the horn. Yeah, Jay and I have known each other for like 20 years. He's very smart. And when we were chatting, it was always about hockey or F1. So, we talk more about F1 now. Fabian and I met, maybe 4 months ago?
Yeah.
We were chatting on Facebook about F1 and then invited him on another show that we were doing about F1 and decided to venture off into our own. And we started this show. And happy to have him. Greg and I work together, known each other for a couple of years now, but very like-minded interests. He loves racing, loves all things motorsports, like the rest of us. But welcome to the show, Megan.
Thank you.
Let's jump right into probably the most controversial thing of the weekend. FIA, you can consider community service D's nuts. What is Max going to do? Is he going to actually do the community service, or is he going to tell them to go fuck themselves? And
Max is going to be going like this the whole fucking way. Tell him to go fish your own asshole. He's got the entire fucking driver's paddock backing him on this one. He's got pretty much every team boss backing him. And the fact that he's not doing anything
is.
I think he's a puppet, bro. I'm just throwing it out there. Anyways.
But do you realize why he's in this situation, right? Do you understand the history of this? I think that's important for context, that we put some context around it, right?
Yeah, go ahead and elaborate on it.
Let's get the history.
Let's discuss it.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like, he's was it Hungary? I think it was. Where did he have the big thing on the radio? With his engineer.
Which time?
With GP.
He's been complaining
like 50 times over the past
but was it
years.
Was it
Hungary? Silverstone, or it was Silverstone or after Silverstone?
No, it was the one where
it
was the Austrian GP. It was the Austrian GP where he was yelling over the radio.
The Austrian GP, he's hyped up, he's screaming and ranting like a lunatic. It was a little over the top,
we made it a topic. Yeah.
Right. So we had a topic about that. Then, after that race, they said, look, you need to go to the steward so they can examine you because it was a collision. It's a protocol. And he said they can go see the doctor and have themselves examined. And he kind of went on this rant where he just kept biting back at him a little bit, right? That wasn't going to serve him well. Okay, that's where his shit started. And then you progress to where it got. So, my perspective on it is simply, as far as what goes on in the car during the heat of a race, I don't have a problem with it at all. Now, how they want to handle broadcasting it or not is a different issue. But I don't have an issue with what the drivers are saying on the mic in those kinds of scenarios. I didn't really have an issue with it then. I just thought it was interesting that his team was trying to seemingly back him down off the cliff a little bit, right? But when you start attacking... Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's one of those things, and it was the big point that we mentioned, and I think it was Jay that brought it up, was they don't have to fucking broadcast them swearing on the radio. They choose to do that. It wasn't like they accidentally cut over to him in saying it. Now, granted, this was from a press conference thing, but this does draw back into the long history of the FIA of reining in drivers. Once the personalities gets too big, they need to remind you that everybody works for someone and we're your boss. And I think that you're hitting the nail on the head here. This is the FIA sending a message and driving the point home that, hey, you fucking work for us, dude. And we'll stop you with penalties after penalties and embarrass you and change your public image, which will end up costing you money. And you'll sun up. Settle down there, kid. Lando, listen.
Like I said in the post,
Lando fucking listens,
I did.
right?
I said, if you work for a company and have security protocols to get in the building, and you flaunt the protocols and they tell you to stop doing it, and you tell HR, I'm not going to stop doing it. I don't give a shit about the way I'm supposed to get it. I'm going to do it this way. Otherwise, I'll quit and fire you. That's what will happen, right?
Yeah.
Now, Max is not getting fired. We know that. That's not the point. But when it comes to the briefing room, like put your big boy pants on and actually be able to have a conversation with the public in that moment when you're not under the duress of a race, and just like end this bullshit. Like there's no reason for him to keep backbiting and fighting this, but this is what he's choosing to do, and so he's forcing their hand.
Yes. So it is a
What do you
lesson
think,
in humility and an ego check. You know, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. And, you know, he'll go out, but he wants to be cheeky and tongue in cheek with it, you know, and he's sending a message. That's why he refused to answer the question the other day. Like I'll answer that question, not in the room. He's fighting back, you know. It's one of those things.
So-
It's like, hey man, do you want to win the battle or do you want to win the war? The war is your public personal image, your reputation as a driver, and you're standing with the FIA, which again, this will end up costing you a lot of fucking money if you play it the wrong way. You shake your head. Why?
Why?
So there's three ways to look at this. One, the FIA and Liberty Media fights have been ongoing for the better part of a decade now, ever since Liberty Media bought F1. So you have that factor right there alone. If they piss off these drivers bad enough, you're going to see Liberty Media push away from FIA. Simple as that. And then FIA doesn't have a say in anything. And I think we'll have a better product in the long run. Because look at all the bullshit that's come out over the past, 3 years? Everything has been FIA, not Liberty Media, not F1, FIA. So that's one way that it could be taken. If you start saying that, like, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso is going to be right there with them, you know, you've got 12 championships getting ready to walk out the door if you push too hard. That is a lot of money from the sport alone and out of Liberty Media's pockets. So you have to take that into account. Now, the last way that I've been looking at this is I think this is finally we're seeing Max mature, because instead of being a total dickwagon flying off the handle at the press conferences, because Max 4 years ago would have been like, fuck, repeatedly, would not stop. Now he's doing the smart play by answering brief answers, still giving them what they want, and he's pulling a Marshawn Lynch, like I linked in the chat the other day. I'm just here so I don't get fired.
Yeah.
Like,
that's not mature though, man.
No,
that's fucking not
Would you
mature.
rather
Just because
see
he's more grown up and mature than he was 4 years ago, because he's like 26 now. Like
25,
yeah,
26,
that's not. It's not fucking saying much, dude. It's not saying shit. Actually,
you remember us
like
at
this is not a
26?
mature professional fucking move. Yeah, no, I was actually far more mature and professional at 26. I kept my mouth closed. Yeah, not now. All right.
Angry Dick. Just throwing it out there.
Well, he's probably
Average
still
Farms
growing
remembers.
his frontal lobe.
Yeah.
Listen, like, yeah, but I'm not a professional fucking racing driver either, right? So
Yes,
like,
but we wore a
it's
uniform that demanded professionalism.
ish.
Dude, I got in trouble.
I got
swearing
away
in
with
front of
everything
the
I got
camera.
away with.
Imagine the ego
Yeah.
you get in the
We'll move on.
military is nothing compared to the ego of an F1 driver who's paid multi-million dollars every year. Like, he has
And
Oh,
you
I'm
do
not
have
disagreeing.
like, I didn't say bullshit publicly that I said in the office either. Like, you didn't catch me off base swearing in uniform, you know? Yeah.
I mean, do you remember Walmart right outside of Brooks? Because I do. I definitely swore there.
I didn't. I was a good boy. Let's move on
Okay,
to
right.
something
Hold
that
on.
actually depresses me.
Hold on. Wait.
Oh, great.
Why does FAA not have a beep button that they can use?
Oh,
Yes.
that was the last part. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
FOM is
Why are we
actually
doing this?
in control of this. Sorry.
Yeah.
FOM is actually in control. They are the only ones that can put out what goes on to the fucking broadcast. They are it. If they're not fucking stopping them from doing this by not showing it or whatever, because I mean, there's 20 drivers on the fucking track, 20 engineers, and 20 team chiefs, or 10 team chiefs, sorry, that all
Yeah.
come across and say shit. You mean to tell me that whenever Max or even Yuki starts going off on his little rants, that Oh, I love Yuki. Don't get it twisted. They
that's your boy.
they can't cut his mic away from him. Like, no, this is what we've been saying for a while. Controversy creates cash, and that's it.
That's why they're doing it.
That's what. Yeah, I mean, everybody's talking about it right now. It's going to be talked about for what, probably a month now.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they?
We're talking about it, right? It creates controversy.
Exactly.
It creates interest
Which
and draws
creates
interest to
money.
the sport, which again draws clicks, creates money. Yeah, we're in it.
Well, and also, like, I was talking to Fabian probably a week ago in regards to, like, even all of the drama regarding, like, McLaren's front wing and then also now their back wing, where everyone's saying that it's in violation, the FIA is not, and they're not having to change it. But years ago, Red Bull had to change it, and I think for Mercedes or Ferrari had to change it. And so we were talking about why wouldn't they do the same thing now? And Fabian said that they lost a whole bunch of viewership in, like, Germany because of how stringent they've become with their rules. So if they keep pressing down on their drivers and kind of taking away all the controversy, they're going to lose more and more viewership. I mean, it's going to be boring.
Right. Do you think, actually, we'll save it for Jay's conspiracy corner, but I'm going to ask you a question about it. And like, do you think, and how invested Liberty Media and the FIA is in creating these controversies, things like 2021? But yeah, we'll save that for the end, our recurring segment. Let's see. We were wrong. We were right. Before we get too deep into like a very emotional subject, might make me cry. Do you guys remember the notes? What was our podium predictions? Who had notes?
That is your job, Rich.
It's totally my job. I had a very long weekend, and I am not at my best today. I apologize.
I'm pulling it up right now. Hold on.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I remember you guys, two of you were taking notes while we were doing this, and I was like,
doesn't
thank you.
mean
Thank
we
you.
remember them. We're not
Well,
into
yeah.
this.
Bro, I'm ADHD as hell. You act like I remember where
I
put my
will
notes.
work.
Right?
We're-
There's like
we're
5
working on
rabid
it.
squirrels on this podcast. Nobody remembers. We all did say that McLaren was probably going to be the car to beat. Some of us
I
said
did. I
Ferrari
believe
was
I
the
said.
challenge.
I was gonna say I think I called both McLarens on the podium, so I got that right. And I think I said it was going to be Mercedes with them, which was that was wrong. So yeah, I was partially right, but I do believe I called both McLarens on the podium. Another good weekend for them. Like, god damn, how dominant is this car? Like, this is the new RB, the new AMG Petronas, like the tier 1 freaking car. It's just crazy.
well,
like
let's see.
20-second lead that he had is
For
nuts.
now.
Twice.
For now,
Let's see.
well, right. That's why it's been so exciting this year, especially this last half of the season, which is a topic that I'm jumping to now. But this has been one of the greatest second halves of the season of any F1 season. I know we're going to talk more during the break about historical seasons, and we'll make that of like an entire episode of what's been the best season of the 2000s. But so far, this second half has been nonstop entertainment. I was talking to a friend last night who's just kind of a casual fan. I told him Max hasn't won in 7 races, and he was like, "What?" Like, I was like, "Yeah, dude. Like, F1 is great this year. Like, it's like tune in and start watching because this has been the most exciting season in a very long time. It's no longer one driver dominating. Yeah, we've had how many different like first place finishers this year? 6, 7,
7.
if 7 different podium winners. Yeah.
Yep, all 4 of the major teams except for Checo's won one.
But yet Hulkenberg
And-
still hasn't got a podium.
That's my boy. Damn.
He was the driver of the day. Like I know
When?
DR3
When?
yesterday.
No, he wasn't. The R3 was.
I know my personal driver of the day yesterday was Hulkenberg.
Is that a thing?
No, it's
It-
not.
Yes. It goes off the hat and the shirts that I wear. But yeah, here's my hat. My Hulkenberg
he
shirt is
did
actually
his best.
in Poland. He did in a Haas. And he's in the top 10 in a Haas. He drove the fucking wheels off that thing. And it doesn't matter how many podiums he's had or not had. He's been on
Which
shitty
is 0.
throughout his entire
I
career.
feel like
Shit team.
the
Shit
whole
cars.
basis of the sport is to get podiums, and that's like a
To get
metric of
points.
how good a driver you are.
Points. Well, yes, it's also podiums.
I'll just be over here.
Anyway, you were saying, Rich? I think you were managing us.
He drove the wheels off that fucking car yesterday. I'm very proud of Nico
He
Hulkenberg.
took 9.
Man, he was in the top 10 and like in 5th and 6th place in a Haas for the majority of the race. And he showed up and qualified. He qualified 6th. Come the fuck on, dude.
What matters? What matters? At the end of the day, what matters?
Points and podiums.
Okay, so he got 2 whole points. Carlo Pinto finished 9th last week. I don't hear you gushing over him.
In a Williams.
I said he did very well. I did. I actually said it was Williams weekend. It was what I called it last week because he did very, very fucking well. Granted,
Yes,
he
but
only
you're
scored
not,
points
like-
because of the crash. Because he only scored points because of the crash, dickhead.
But how many times have we seen?
That's the only
Hulkenberg
fucking reason
score
why he
1
had
to
those
2
points. It's the only.
How many
Nico
times have we seen
Hulkenberg got those
Hulkenberg
points on validity and fucking driving the wheels off
for
of
the
a
first
Haas.
time without K-Mac blowing
America's
up the field
team.
behind him?
America's team.
Oh my god!
So, Megan, this
Okay.
is where we, as a group, you, me, and Fabian, wrangle in Rich and Jay because they're off the rails right now.
Yes.
Somebody
America's
won
team.
a race
Started,
yesterday.
motherfucker.
But I'm enjoying
Nico
it.
Hulkenberg
I
for
kind of want to
America's
just
team.
add fuel to the
More points.
fire.
Who has more points right now? Hold on.
Our national embarrassment is actually moving on. We'll segue off of this. Logan Sargent.
Like somebody won the
Um,
race. Logan's going to go race Indy cars. They're like fucking NASCAR with no fenders. Somebody won a race yesterday.
Dude,
I mean, he's got a point. He's not a lot.
I want him to fucking go and just dominate IndyCar. Like just show up
That'd
and
be
just
cool.
fuck everybody up. And I think he has a
Yeah.
good chance, man. He is a good fucking driver. He deserves a lot more than the situation that he landed into. I hope nothing but the best for this dude.
What I'm curious, what are the indicia of him being a good driver?
I got to go look that up.
Like
Indicia?
what the indicators,
Indications.
the indicia. What are the indicia of him being
Oh.
a good driver?
Huh,
It was
that's a
780
word.
verbal for the SATs, and I didn't know that one.
Look at that.
So
Now,
what race was it? Was it Silverstone where he had the fastest lap of the weekend? That's one. He is streaky and inconsistent. It is far easier to highlight his flaws than it is to highlight his advantages. You have to look at him, and again, like he qualifies in one of the worst cars in the sport, and he still outpaces other drivers. Again, like it's his inconsistency overshadowed all of his positive attributes. It was one of the things that I've always caveated him with was like, you don't get into the sport on accident. You're not there qualifying week in, week out and putting lap times together the way that he was because he's a shitty driver. He makes mistakes. It's why people criticize him. And yeah, he was just a young kid on a shit team in the worst car on the grid, like struggling. And literally there was times where like he's just out there testing tires for Williams. Like
So
he was not ever given a true opportunity to ever like fully excel in Formula One, and he needed more time to develop.
Let's actually table this part of this, and we'll do this next week because we have a whole open area of topics for that.
Bunch of time. Yeah, let's talk about this week. Lando didn't blow pole position for
As
the
much as
first
he
time
tried
ever.
to.
Like he
as
tried,
much as-
and he's probably still trying to blow that pole position even here a day later. He does not give up.
2 wall taps, and if it wasn't for
he's
Hamilton,
consistent.
euphemisms or innuendo. Yeah.
So the resident Lando fan is Megan, just so y'all know.
oh
She's
god,
the
I just
provider.
lost all
Oh.
respect for you. I just lost all respect for you, but no, we're good.
You still have
Um,
yet to earn mine.
you
so
had
it's
to-
fine.
You had to
Oh,
be excited.
What other entitled brats do you like?
Oh,
Wow.
she's got to be a Lance Stroll fan.
Is Stroll your
Oh,
second
God, I
favorite driver?
feel like
Who
Oh,
also has the
God,
same
I would
amount
love
of
to
points
see-
as
no, I'm not
Nico
gonna say that.
Hulkenberg.
Fuck you.
Stroll
to have
win a
the
race.
same,
In a
points as
better
Ricard
car.
Drake,
Put
yeah.
Nico Hulkenberg in Aston Martin and fucking watch around, and we'll see who gets podiums. Put him in a fucking Ferrari and let's see who gets a fucking podium.
Rich
You know who I
Hulkenberg
want
is
in a better
energy
car.
drinks.
Top 3 driver in F1. You just
Yeah,
need a
put
good
Ocon
car.
in a better car.
We will find out next year with the Audi. Stay tuned.
So, Megan, when he made it past lap 1,
Sorry for the F.
what were you thinking?
I love you.
I was waiting for him to blow it in lap 2, to be honest. I'm a Lando fan, but I can be
That's
very
fair.
realistic. So he went through lap 1, and I was like,
Right.
oh, that's new.
I
and then
appreciate
he
that
just-
pragmatism. Yeah.
I'm very pragmatic. So I was pleasantly surprised. I actually almost fell out of my chair, like when he didn't lose it in turn
Right.
1.
With Euphoria.
So
I'm
Lando
using all
did
my
fall out
SAT
of his chair
words
in
He
turn
fucking
one.
now that Fabian came in. He did. He did
it-
try to fuck that up. Do you
It
guys
wouldn't
think
have
it's
been for
everything that we
Hamilton
said?
being
Like
there.
there is so much motherfucking mental pressure on him on that start that he is
Oh,
just
yeah.
psyching himself out. And it's
well,
all
it's
the
also
mental
like
thing.
a self-fulfilling prophecy. Every time that he loses pole, like turn 1, it just gets worse and worse. And then he always is looking at the wrong car in the rear views.
and just thinking about the
Yeah.
wrong things. Yeah, like
Yeah.
very cool that he broke that streak. I think it was one of the highlights of the weekend. It's a good thing for him. It will, like, this breaking of the streak, like mentally he'll go forward with so much more confidence now. And we spent a lot of time talking and examining kind of the mentality of the drivers, like especially these younger kids whose brains literally aren't fully developed. Like medically, your brain as a man doesn't develop
She
till
said
you're like
that.
25. Yeah. Jay just taught me if you're ADHD, it's like 35, which makes a lot more sense to me. But like these kids are still kids. They're still growing up.
Yeah.
We've discussed like what's a good age for these drivers, or what sort of restrictions. One of the suggestions Greg had was like segmenting it for F3, F2, F1, like aging it up and providing an avenue for younger drivers that was in a staggered state. Where do you land on that? Like, what are your thoughts on kind of the mentality of these younger kids, the amount of pressure that gets thrown onto them? And like, this is why we see things like Lando crippling like first lap.
I mean, I think it's a lot, and I think that it's kind of crazy that they're also trying to lower the minimum age for the drivers, because I mean,
It's dangerous.
that when you have this invincibility complex when you're young, and you're putting these kids think they're invincible in a rocket car. They're going to take unnecessary risks. I mean, I kind of feel like we're seeing it a little bit with Franco Colapinto. He's taking a lot of risks with the car and kind of rubbing his teammate the wrong way. And if we don't, like, we keep lowering that limit to let younger but more possibly physically fit drivers in the car, I think it's just going to become a more dangerous sport.
So I think that element exists very, very
Children
much.
jockeys.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, this is what we're doing. That physical element, like, I do think plays a part. It's one of those things, I think, with Checo, where he's exhausted after these races, especially where he's fighting the car. And one thing we've talked about with him and his mentality. So I'm curious about your thoughts on this, because you're kind of new to the show. But where do you land on Checo and in him staying in a seat, like a premier team seat, and costing them basically the Constructors' Championship?
I think the situation with Checo is just very weird, because I feel like he has a seat, but I feel like all the upgrades and like all the preferential treatment goes to Max.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he hasn't performed. He's crashed way too many times in the past few races.
He's a cash cow, so he brings in a lot of money from Mexico.
But he's also costing them a lot of money.
And yeah, here's the dilemma. So yeah, I'm curious. Like, one of the Jay's conspiracy corner topics has been he's sticking around until the Mexican Grand Prix. Like, they're keeping him in the seat until Mexico. He's made some comments about like performing for his child, like his children, You know, I made one of the points of like after Monaco, where he had that pretty horrific crash where the car came completely apart. He's one of 3
Mhm.
fathers on the grid.
Yeah.
We're all fathers on this show. That changes your perspective. Like that, I think influences it. I think it got into his head. Like after Monaco, you saw a significant, like his brain is not, his mind is not fully into it the way that you have to be for these races. And so there's some kind of distraction or some kind of factor that's mitigating his performance. And I think that played into it. Like, yeah, that was my big theory. I don't know where you went on that.
I don't know if I see him sticking, like, I don't see him leaving after Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there would be a lot more, like, I think in June, there was a lot of talk about his seat. Like, he had just signed his contract, but there was a lot of talk of him losing his seat if he didn't perform. And it's all kind of gone away. I feel like he wouldn't have pushed back so hard, or Red Bull wouldn't have pushed back so hard against that narrative if they were just thinking about letting him walk after Mexico City.
Fair enough.
So
I feel like
so-
if he was going to leave,
But
he would at least-
before that, like he was basically coming in 8th place. You know, he started the first races off like finishing 1-2 with Max, which is what he needed to do to really keep its seat. Then he started falling back into 8th place or crashing. Coming back after the break, he's been in 8th place, but Max is fighting the fuck out of that car too. So I think he's doing the best that he can, like after this post break, and that's sort of like ending the speculation over his seat. This crash that happened last weekend, like, really didn't do himself any favors. He kind of fucking trashed the whole like comeback narrative. That sucked. But yeah, I think they're gonna let him finish out the season. Let's segue into other Red Bull seat news. I don't know if we want to talk about this. Danny Rick, fastest lap, actual driver of the day. Fond farewell. It sounds like and looks like somebody come in on this, man. Because yeah, if I keep talking about it, I literally might tear up.
okay, let's go.
Go,
So
Jay.
DR3 has been an ambassador for Red Bull, even whenever he wasn't with Red Bull. Everybody knew who he was. Everybody knew where he came from. Everybody knew where he wanted to go back to, but it was all about Max being in Red Bull. The fact of the matter is that he had the chance to come back in. And this is where I will actually disagree with you, Megan, is Spa is where all the talks really picked up. And this is why I say that Mexico City is where it's going to be at. Because DR3 and Max on an aircraft together, or on a helicopter together, right after the big announcement that they're going to have a discussion on Checo's future, then all of a sudden they're in a meeting for 5 seconds, come out and say Checo's staying. Liberty Media called in, said, fuck you, he's staying because he brings in too much money. Afterwards, you can get rid of him. We don't care, but we need him in there for Mexico or we're going to lose all of our seats, which is absolutely true. But this is a touchy one because, like, he obviously didn't do himself any favors on Saturday with the qualifying. DR3, that is. And judging by Lawson's face, he knew he was getting that seat. Now, the weird part about it is that no one from Red Bull is saying shit. And for Danny Rick being such a polarizing figure inside of Red Bull and them not saying anything about it, even his team chief's not saying anything about it, or team principal, sorry. With nobody saying anything, I cannot completely grasp that he's actually going to be gone. Like, it's just a sinking feeling. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of Lawson's contract. I've heard 16 different varieties of this contract. I've heard he has to be given a seat in 2025 or he can walk from Red Bull. I've heard now that he has to have at least 4 or 5 races inside of 2024 or he can walk from Red Bull. If he's got those kind of clauses in his contract, let him fucking walk. Like, no. You have Hajar, who's going to win the F2 championship right now. ready to come up. Like, wait out the year with Danny Rick, bring Hajar up, say fuck you to Lawson, because Lawson was actually the second best driver out of the academy coming up, and we talked about this last week. But ultimately, I can't see it being his last race. I think deep down, I don't think it is. And we'll get more into that on the conspiracy corner. But for right now, just judging by how he went out, I can't see it.
Yeah, man. I hope and pray it's not. It was one of those things we did, just kind of like a fun question topic of like, who do you want to go like grab a beer with? You know, like who do you want to hang out with? And it's like, man, I want to hang out with Dan and Rick. Like I want to go party with him. I want to sit down and have like a nice Italian dinner or steak with Lewis Hamilton and just like pick his brain for 4 or 5 hours. Different vibe. Like I want to go to fucking Vegas with DR3.
Oh, didn't you say you wanted to sit down and have
No,
a nice
I
glass
want-
of wine with
Lewis Hamilton? I know. Yeah, I'm tired, man. Yeah, that didn't sound great.
What
I'm a
were you saying,
fangirl
Megan?
for Lewis. Yeah, go ahead,
was that?
Megan. Change this,
I want to
please.
I want to do like a pub crawl with Yuki and Danny. One of them's ending
you
up
go.
in jail, and someone's gonna have to bail someone out. But I would have a great time.
And there will definitely
Love
be
that
midgets
foul mouth little
involved by the end of it.
chucklehead.
I like it. I agree because I could see Yuki. There definitely would be midgets involved, especially if it's in Vegas.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and transition to another recurring segment we like to do, Tech Talk with Greg.
All right, let's get nerdy. So McLaren, they had their little flappy wing gate, whatever you want to call it. They definitely got a win out of that line of effort. It's been reined in a bit here. There was one shot that we posted in our prep chat for this where you could still see a bit too much gap, but this was not the track to highlight that, right? We're going to see at the next track, Coda, there's going to be higher top speeds, and the benefit from this is going to come into play because there's twisty sections where the wing won't necessarily be all, dragged out and nice and slippery. So be interesting to see. But I think this race proved that McLaren still has a very good overall package, right? They have good tire management. They have, arguably one of the better power plants, and they're firing on all cylinders. Basically, they may be a little too conservative. In years past, you would have seen Max come from the lead, pit on softs, and go back out there and reset it. But I don't think anybody wanted to take a chance with as close as we have here. So on screen now we got the little gap, as you can see over on the left hand side, just to the left of the D in dark trace. There's still a little bit of daylight there. And as you can see up the road a little bit in a car that's going even faster, there is no daylight on that Mercedes wing. So, yep. And I would say in weeks to come, they're probably going to still rein that in a little bit. But good first effort for McLaren. Not openly cheating. And it's one of those things where they passed the test. So the FIA's got to do something when you can see a thumb's width through the wing. It's not 7 millimeters. It's better.
And here's another FIA point. So once again, they make themselves look like idiots, right? They come up with this big statement about how it passed the test and it's legal, and there's nothing further. Literally, they said nothing further going to happen, and then less than 24 hours later, they're asking them to change it. What? I don't understand.
I don't do this very often, but I will defend the FIA on this one. FIA did not ask them to change it. McLaren willingly said before FIA could say anything that we're going to take the wing off. And then they did it. So.
Moving on here. We're good with McLaren fixing their wings slowly. Okay, we'll see. Coda will be the thing. Anyway, so I was super miffed at Lewis Hamilton had a great qualifier. I'm like, where the heck is he coming from, right? And where's George? Well, they put themselves right next to each other on the grid, and then they split the strategy. And what we think is happening here, based on what Hamilton said over the radio, is that he's just not being included in pre-planning strategy meetings, maybe, or perhaps he's not getting a choice in what happens because they put him on softs. And this is a tight street circuit. Pit strategy is kind of the dominant way to pass people. Granted, there was like 174 DRS zones. There was a lot. I don't remember the exact number, but there was a few. And
they went from 3 to 4 this weekend, but yes, it was
yeah.
crazy.
So
it was crazy. Yeah, it wasn't a good move, I think.
Just so you folks know, when Rich does that, he's on the toilet. He brings the webcast with him, and he's just anyway. So we got Lewis starting on soft, and right off the bat, it's like that was a quick one. You just pitched that right off. So right off the bat,
Amazon delivery, Amazon.
He gets a reasonable launch, right? It was he was next to Max, which we all know is not going to go anywhere other than somebody going into the wall. So Max defends properly and walks away. And now Lewis is like, cool. Now what am I supposed to do with these red tires? Like, you're going to get me to lap 12? Awesome. I'll just battle my way back from, where did he end up? 15th or some shit? He had to battle back from 15th. And I'm like, and he did a good job, but he went from 3rd in front of Russell to behind Russell at the end. Like, this is silly, right? So I think he had every right to be like, guys, what are you doing? Like, this is dumb, right? And the teams were even saying like, hey, the hard was better. Like Max, like he had a good stint on the hard, so it wasn't like the hards were bad. So
if we want to circle back and talk about how to maturely handle a situation, go ahead and look at Lewis Hamilton and the way that he responds to a situation. That's how a mature champion race car driver handles a tough situation. Not still being a slightly less, not just behaving like a slightly less petulant child.
Isn't he the one that told Max to behave like a petulant child? I'm just throwing it out there.
That's actually a really fair point to come back with, and I have no rebuttal.
You're welcome.
Good one. Nice. Touche,
right,
sir.
So I will end the tech session with a slightly weird, off-topic, unpopular opinion. If a water bottle is the only thing we can do for these drivers during the race, maybe this race needs to be a touch shorter. I get it. There's factors that go into fuel strategies and tire strategies, and there's a whole lot built around that number of laps that they do and the mileage that they typically do, which is why you can't have races that just go on forever under yellow and whatnot, even though I think we ran an entire spa under a safety car. The drivers are like, look, how many walls did Lando hit? Because he was just like tired out there of leading, and 2 walls from the lead. Like in a 20-second lead, you don't even have to be close to the walls. And then last year, you had people falling out of cars when they were done. So there was a lot going on there, physically speaking. So I would say, wouldn't it be cool if, with all the DRS technology and the freaking hybrid technology, like, can we get some sort of like static air conditioner setup for those guys? Something that doesn't really necessarily rob a lot of horsepower, or just maybe needs a little bit of airflow to function. I don't know. Just throw it out there, like keep the drivers alive.
Or even like a cooling system, or a coolant system, like built into the suit.
Yes.
So this was actually brought up recently. I want to say it was after Saudi, maybe.
It was brought up. They were looking at a cooling system of some kind for the cars.
And Lewis Hamilton basically said, y'all are a bunch of pussies, suck it up.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
So
he was like, I'm 40, get over it.
Drivers do not want it, period.
60, what's your excuse?
Like, I've been racing since you were in diapers.
Right.
It's one of those things, and I made mention of it during the break, was like they were going to come back, and then in Singapore we might see the younger drivers that are a little bit more physically in shape perform better because just the physical demands of it. It's also going to reflect who was working out during that break and who was fucking off eating pizza and drinking champagne in Monaco. Yeah.
Why you hating?
Who put in the work? I mean, because I'm jealous.
I mean, we've all seen Max's pictures from the beach. He's the one eating the pizza.
Yeah. And he came back, and Checo almost beat him last week. Can we talk about that? Like, I feel like we still didn't really acknowledge this. Like, Checo almost fucking beat him last week.
Checo fucked it up in the signs and cost them both their ride.
I know, but he was almost fucking redeemed. Like, so close to being fucking redeemed.
Almost.
Which is how he out-qualified Max the other time when he wrecked at Monaco in front of Max, and Max couldn't get a lap in.
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
I like
sport
Checo,
where thousandths of a second count and matter. I know. I wanted it
And
for
we're
him, man.
inches
As
into
much as
somebody
I,
else's tires
as
matter.
much as I say he doesn't fucking even deserve to be in the sport, I still wanted him to redeem himself. I was still in his
He
corner.
almost killed his dad.
All right, Jesus.
Sorry, that was
That was wild.
Oh, let me get
There was
passionate
so
about
much-
something for a
I'm gonna go
second.
sit in the
And,
corner.
and
Right.
Megan, I'm
It's
gonna need you to
wrong.
calm me down on this. Yeah,
Because you
as
weren't
our
passionate
guest.
before.
Exactly.
Megan, you're gonna have to be. Listen, you're gonna have a new role. It's gonna be like grief counselor, like
For
but
Rich,
in real
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Can we talk
of-
about this whack ass Mercedes
First of all,
livery?
I don't even have
This
my stuff
fucking
together. You want
absolute-
me to count others?
This absolute fucking garbage nonsense that kept getting rubbed in our faces. And this is why I'm fucking mad about it. How many fucking times are they going to mention, oh, the new Mercedes livery? They changed the color of the stripe. This is the laziest half-ass bullshit you could ever do. Get the flying fuck out of here. First of all, whose job is this? Because I want it. I will do better. I already have a proposed solution. Like I didn't get a chance to look into the regs, but I want to know, like, do we have to paint the carbon fiber? Is that mandated? If not, then we're not fucking painting it. It's raw carbon fiber, which looks fucking awesome. And we're going to do that Petronas green, like, decals across it. Fuck this changing the stripe. What the fucking fuck? They mentioned it 3 fucking times during the race. 3 goddamn times I have to hear about this lazy half-ass bullshit. You've got to be kidding me. Why? Other than this British infantia that Liberty Media has, and they all have to be fucking
What's that word? In what?
infantia. Like, they all have to just sit there
Leave him
and
alone.
it's self-tug.
You
Like,
got me.
yeah,
SAT
they're cross-country
word right there.
skiing. Like, as long as you're wearing the Union Jack. Like,
No,
it's
the
fucking
best livery-
ridiculous.
The best.
This was
livery
the dumbest shit.
Arby's. They
Go
killed
ahead.
it.
Yeah, please.
The
That denim livery was
sick.
fire as fuck. Yeah, I'll pull it up. That denim livery did it justice. It's also worth mentioning, and this is why I'm also
Amazing.
talking about it, is Red Bull didn't run a custom livery because of the
Thank
paint and
God.
weight savings. We were right on this. So let's go back to that. Who brought that up during, I believe it was Silverstone and Russell getting DQ'd? Somebody mentioned, I think it was Jay or Greg, someone mentioned, like, sometimes they don't paint the car because of the weight. We were talking
That
about the
was
weight
Greg.
savings. It was Greg. And then someone just told me that water bottle doesn't actually have water for Singapore, which is bananas.
Great.
I'm again, Greg, with the tech talk.
What's in it?
Remember
What's
Kimi?
in
I want water.
Hey.
Kimi, there is no water.
Yeah. Yes. Fucking perfect.
This is coming from the guy
yeah.
who didn't scrub his tires. He's just driving straight. And everyone else is like, I got to be ready for the restart. And Kimi's like, I'm just finished. He wanted.
I mean, he's
confidence,
finished.
wouldn't give him-
Yeah,
So what
he's
did they-
finished. He'll finish. God, I miss Kimi Räikkönen in those radio calls. Yeah, that was one. What's
Maybe
harking it back to
retire underneath the
DR3?
rules.
It was another. It was shut the fuck up. He was another personality very similar to DR3, where you wanted to watch him race. You know, and he's not the greatest driver of all time. He's not in the greatest car. He made, a lot of questionable decisions throughout his career. So did Kimi Räikkönen. Is DR3 the new Kimi Räikkönen?
You mean Fernando Alonso?
Shut up. No, he's like Grandpa F1. There's nobody else like
Fernando's made
Fernando
more bad
Alonso.
calls. I was gonna say Fernando Alonso holds the kingship of making bad calls on his F1 career.
Dude, has
I
no idea
understand
he
that
used any
parallel.
phone.
I know, but
He's
you
like,
gotta
That
give him,
parallel, I understand.
Coming through
Yes.
but you
Yeah.
gotta give him credit for saying
Well,
he
my
pressed all the
twin. Yeah.
buttons. Like, did you mean to press the pit lane button? I pressed them all trying to stop this thing.
Dude, Fernando has the best one-liners in F1. Like, hands down.
Fernando,
love it.
try to
Like,
restart
so-
the engine. No, you restarted. I already tried 2 times.
it is
Sitting in
it
a
is
lawn
where
chair.
we see like versions of us in these guys. You know what I mean? I think that's the reason why I love DR3 so much is like I see myself in him, and like he is just kind of that kid that just wants to party and have fun. Has all the pressure in the world on his shoulders, and manages as best as he can. Has struggled and come back several times, and again, like moments of absolute fucking brilliance where you're like, okay, this is why you're here.
Yeah.
He's given us as fans a lot of really wonderful personal moments, I think, like where he's a personalized kind of driver, where we, again, like his redeeming quality is his relatability to just normal people.
Speaking of relatability to normal people,
God damn it, I hope this isn't his fucking last race. Like,
let's go the opposite and go with Oscar, because we haven't talked about Oscar.
Oh God.
Yeah, not all day.
Somebody who's not that relatable to normal people. But what happened?
No, because he's fucking superhuman AI cyborg.
Because they closed down half
born,
of his DRS
born in
wing.
fucking bred. Yeah, born and fucking bred to drive F1 and to just
Megan,
be the
did you
calm,
get to
cool,
see-
collected.
Hold on. No,
Did
he
you
was
get to-
programmed to drive F1. Max
Yes.
was bred to drive A1.
That is
That's
actually
fair.
That's true.
1000% accurate. Max Verstappen was the child of two race car
Hit him with
drivers.
the F1 steering wheel, and
Yeah.
Oscar came out gripping it.
I'm pretty sure
Gripping something else,
Yost
too.
beat Max with a
Oh,
F1
yeah, no,
steering wheel. Like, yeah, at some point he got hit with the steering wheel.
He was left at the gas station with the steering wheel, and he was like, "If you want to survive, you will use this
Drive
to
that
figure it
home.
out." Just
Yeah.
drove away.
Well, what happened with Oscar this weekend?
We're all going to hell this.
So like, yeah, I mean, not great qualifying, right? Was
it's
lagging a little
because they
bit
took
behind.
away his DRS advantage.
Oh, do you think that's what it is? The wing change? He got the wing change, but Lando didn't.
No, they had to.
All right,
they-
we're gonna
they-
transition. We're gonna transition into Jay's conspiracy
adjusted
corner.
it. No,
we gotta
they
put on our
adjusted the
tinfoil
wing.
hats.
Yeah.
Come in with it. Yeah. No. Say it. Yeah. let's go.
So the wing shot that I sent was actually Oscar's wing, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember off the top of my head though.
Okay.
But
The camera's above you, not at your cell phone.
sorry, I have work shit going on. Some of us actually still have to work sometimes. Anyways,
Touche again, sir.
Sucker.
thank you. Anyways, so they closed. It looks like they cut down the gap on Oscar's wing a lot, and I'm wondering if that's not fucking with the balance of it. To be honest, like you go from one street course where you're utterly dominating, other than Charles, and you go to the next one and you're fucking fifth place for half the race, then third finally. So I think that's a big part of it is whenever they did change the wing. Now the actual true conspiracy thing here is listen to the way that Daniel and Horner both talked about this the whole time. Danny Rick could have said anything but a Christmas present. He could have said, "Oh, look, I'm getting a present from Max," or "Hey, this will be awesome to get something cool from Max for doing this." Horner saying, "We have to look at the bigger driver picture." Not once has either one of them said, "Yeah, I'm out." Who knows? This is where the conspiracy really gets deep here. Is this could be fucking Horner's fuck you to Helmut Marko, since he's the one that's pushing all this Lawson bullshit, saying, "Okay, cool. Checo's gone after Mexico City. Now with Checo's dad having a heart attack because Checo bended into a wall, or sorry, pre-heart attack. This opens it up now for Checo to actually bow out of the sport gracefully. Utterly and completely gracefully. No one's going to look down on him for it whatsoever, even though he's caused, $5 million in damage over 35 points in the past 20 races or something like that. I don't even remember now. But realistically, looking at everything, how it sits, and this is why I was saying, I don't think this is DR3's last race. I've been saying this all season long. Kick Checo the fuck out of the seat. Let Danny Rick come up into it. If Danny Rick fails, you have 2 seats available. Lawson, Hajar, done. No one's going to say a word because Danny Rick gets his fairy tale ending. Checo's out of the F1, men bowed out gracefully. Lawson's in and Hajar's in. You have 5 new young people or 4 new young people in at that point? Let's see here.
You've
Plus, it
got
also
Bierman,
opens up.
Antonelli, Duhan, or whatever his name is. There's Lawson.
Doing's the
Wings,
worst fucking mistake ever.
and then you've got Colapinto in play, possibly.
Carlo Pinto.
I'm not going to come at you over that, but we will debate that on another topic. I'll come after you for that comment.
Okay, let me make a note of that. Under
Table that
Which
shit.
one?
Doohan, you don't think he's not a good driver?
I'm not saying he's not a good driver, but I think Carlo Pinto's shown enough that he needs a seat. I think they're fucking up. I think Alpine
Not denying that.
Up. Not to mention,
it's Alpine.
Come over here, listen to how they talk, and then come talk to me again. Anyways, so
Alpine.
Okay. Anyways, what I was saying is that now there's talks about Williams thinking they may have made a mistake by picking up Sainz. Carlo Pinto is a younger, cheaper version of Carlos Sainz.
That's not tinfoil hat. That's just solid analysis.
That's racist just because they both speak Spanish.
I knew that was coming. I fucking knew it as soon as I said that.
Fuck you. Listen, if we're going to talk about racism in F1, we're going to address the racism towards Asians and the Asian community.
Fucking
if we're going to start the conversation.
Needs a seat, damn it. Anyways,
he does deserve a number one seat. And the only motherfucking time Zhou Guanyu ever gets mentioned was the Chinese Grand Prix and when he makes a mistake. Otherwise, they completely fucking ignore him.
Anyways, what else has he done to not get ignored?
Again, he's driving the worst car too. So
I'm not disagreeing with you. But how many times have you heard Valtteri
on the break? We're going to talk about the bottom four teams and that competition and those drivers and what life is like for those guys. But we'll segue to that at another date.
Okay. Anyways, so just looking at everything, you could have possibly 2 more seats come available if Red Bull just does go fuck you to Checo after Mexico City. And the fact that everybody is keeping it quiet. And let's be real here. Red Bull is not about being quiet. They're not going quietly into the night on fucking anything. Why would they let one of their most prolific drivers walk out the fucking door with not even so much as a fuck you and have a nice day?
Do you think that this is somewhat of a stunt with DR3 and this
Netflix? That's where I was going with it. This is where I was going with it. Netflix.
This
fucking
is
A.
Megan, jump in here.
Because go for it.
I mean, I agree because just how we were talking about with the whole swearing debacle, it's weird how it's happening with Danny Rick. I mean, you've got F1 Instagram posting all this weird crap like it's his last race. Oh, he was the last guy to leave the paddock at 2 a.m. And oh, look at him coming into the hospitality suite and hugging everybody after the race. It's drumming up so much conversation, but for the teams to not say anything, the only thing that I can think of, and I don't think it's going to happen, but is what happened with Joylyn Palmer, how he heard through the media that he wasn't getting on for the next season and he couldn't even get his team to actually confront him with the news. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think because they're all talking about Netflix again. Netflix has been everywhere. I
agree with you there. And that's the biggest point is he's too much of a a person to them. There is no loyalty in the sport, but he is too much of a figure for Red Bull. And even if he moves on, and even if he does leave, he's still going to be a representative for Red Bull somehow. He's still going to have some kind of involvement in the sport, whether it's commentating or even an instructing or coaching position. There's a spot in F1 for Danny Rick. There's probably a brighter day, right? I don't want to mourn this too much. But I think you're definitely on to something with that, where there's too much loyalty within the organization, where he's going to find out he doesn't have a job from the media. They're talking about this behind closed doors, and this is why we have Conspiracy Corner.
I feel
is
that's
what happens behind closed doors.
So here's the other thing.
Do you think I want go ahead, Jay, because I'm going to ask a question after.
I was going to say, so him going into the hospitality room once, whatever, it happens, cool, you know. But twice, him and his manager, twice. What happened in that closed door meeting? Was one with Marco, one with Christian, or was it more of a Helmut Marco's gone, we're keeping you, the end? Because let's be fucking real here. They would not have removed that clause from Max's contract if they were not going to get rid of Helmut Marko. They are trying to push out the entire Austrian side of Red Bull right now. Helmut Marko is the last domino to fall. Ty holds majority ownership. Christian Horner takes a position like Toto Wolff currently has in Mercedes. And Christian Horner brings in the drivers that he wants. Either that or they tell Marco, this is exactly what we're going to fucking do. And if you don't like it, there's the fucking door.
Everybody works for somebody.
Wasn't DR3 at Goodwood even driving the RB18 or whatever it was, like during the parade of cars?
Yep.
Recently.
Yep.
Like decked out in full Red Bull regalia, the whole 9 yards.
Yep. Not to mention, he was doing that test over the break at one point where him and Lawson were supposed to be going toe-to-toe for the seat. And then all of a sudden, that got changed, and they were no longer going toe-to-toe. I want to say that was right around the time of the Spa thing where Daniel Rick was on the fucking helicopter with Max.
Right.
So... like, I'm kind of wondering if this whole fucking Spa thing, maybe I'm wrong on the Liberty Media side of it. Maybe it's Netflix saying, let's build this shit up. Like,
could be.
Liberty Media then coming in behind and saying, well, why don't we wait till after Mexico City? Because then we don't lose any fucking revenue.
So this was what I was alluding to earlier, Meg. And I wanted to engage you during Jay's Conspiracy Corner. We've talked about things like 2021 where, the overlapped cars can't pass over, during the red flag. The way that even back into the 80s with Senna and Prost, like FIA loves to interfere, loves to create the controversy, and controversy creates clicks, which creates dollars and cents. How much do you think there's an influence there, especially in situations like 2021? And I want to ask specifically about this McLaren wing. Do you think that they've let this go and known about it? Because here's my conspiracy in Jay's Conspiracy Corner is that FIA has known all year long that they had a bendy wing that was giving them an advantage, and they did not do anything about it until it became way too obvious and it was called out publicly. People were like doing freeze frames and screen captures of like, hey, what the fuck? Like, that's not in regs. I think they let them get away with it to create this competition. And what I highlighted earlier, what we all love to see right now, which is like this, like, it's open-ended every weekend now. We don't know who's going to be on the podium. We don't know. It's not set in stone now. I think that's my big conspiracy for 2024 is FIA just allowed McLaren to have these advantages.
I think that there is nothing going on that the FIA is not aware of, especially with just how accessible information is with all of the cars. I mean, you have onboard cameras everywhere pointing in every single direction that you can pretty much see how the car is going to respond in real time during a race. But I also think too that they are letting a lot more things slide because the last 2 to 3 seasons were extremely boring. And I would say even this season you've seen like a massive influx of new fans. And I think with, Drive to Survive picking up again, you have just social media driving a massive like fan uptick. I think they're using as much drama as possible to just drum up more numbers. Because like a lot of people get into certain hobbies, whether it be sports or even, celebrities, not necessarily by just stumbling upon a race, watching a race, and becoming hooked. They kind of become invested in the entire organization. And I feel like for example, they had to have known about the wing. It's impossible for them not to know about the wing. By letting it slide so much, they're drumming up so much conversation that is getting talked about every week. You've got, the possibility of Checo being out. You've got the possibility of, wow, I just blanked. Danny Rick being out. Then you've got Logan Sargent just taken out of nowhere mid-season. It's drumming up so much controversy, so much conversation that wouldn't exist, that people are actually interested every week and almost watching every single day of the weekend, from like media day to the closing of the race. And I feel
I think that's where it comes in.
that.
Like, yeah, it's a purpose-built mission. Like, there's people whose literal jobs are to create these controversies, these narratives, to keep fans entertained, even whether they actually exist or not. Right.
So what I hear you both saying, and this is just me throwing a spin on this, is that the FIA and the mechanism and organizations, the apparatus around it, have paid attention and figured out how to take what Netflix and other influencers have brought to the sport and make it function in real time to keep the what's the term of the show's reality show element?
Yeah, the reality.
Alive.
Yeah, the content machine. Just keep the content generating. Content.
Yeah, I mean that does make a lot of sense, because there is a distinctive difference in the way that the news cycle around Formula One has changed over the last 4 to 5 years, but particularly so since 2021.
And I can also see it happening too, because like you have a lot of, social media presence and so many fan pages dedicated to F1 right now, that you just have to release just a tiny little nugget of information. It could be misinformation, or it could just be like something to get the conversation started. And then you basically have free press just constantly 24 hours a day, just churning it out. And so you get more engagement without having to spend any money.
So we talked about this a while ago.
Speaking
I
of
want to say it was
language. Yep.
I want to say this was like 2 or 3 episodes ago. We talked about how the F1 pundits are all full of fucking shit. Like, realistically, how many clickbaits, how many new
Whiny,
signs, how many
Union Jack,
signs.
pumping, British bias bitches.
Here we go. Anyways, so there was a sharp decline in viewership from 21 to 22, 22 to 23 in the UK, Germany, and France. UK is kind of obvious. Lewis Hamilton without a car is a shit. Well, at least at his age. Germany has no fucking drivers because Mick Schumacher. Don't even unmute. Just mute it back up. We've had this discussion numerous times. Anyways, so Germany really does not have a driver right now. The last one they had was Mick Schumacher. Yes, I know Nico Hülkenberg is from there, but whenever the sharp decline happened, Nico was not in a seat. So there you go. And then the French, I mean, fuck the French. But you have Alpine, where Gasly and Ocon are shitting the bed. The car absolutely sucks, which, by the way, we still need to do that one. Greg, I think it was the one to do that one.
Can we call Ryan Reynolds a traitor for sponsoring a French team and investing money in them?
He's French Canadian. It doesn't count.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Never mind then. We can't. God, fuck France. Now I have to hate him too.
No. He was, dude, after what he did with Wrexham, by all means, make your motherfucking money, bro. But at the end of the day, I understand why all 3 markets went to shit. Now, you can blame Max, you can blame Red Bull, you can do whatever you want. I know Fabian's going to blame Max no matter what, but it doesn't really fucking matter on this one. At the end of the day, this is how every F1 fan felt during Lewis's dominance, unless if you were a Mercedes fan.
Mhm.
because realistically,
No,
I
even if
stopped
you were a
watching.
Mercedes fan. Some
No,
of us-
because you got people like these two assholes that were like, still, yeah, go do it. Anyways, but at the end of the day, there's only so much dominance. Because I mean, I've been a Red Bull fan since 2006,
I couldn't tell.
and man, go fuck yourself. Anyways, but I'm sitting here screaming for Yuki to get the goddamn seat. So,
I know you are.
anyways, so at the end of the day,
tie
quit
that back
watching at
to
the end
to
of-
what I barely mentioned, but Asian racism in fucking Formula One, and how if you're not a fucking limey Brit, you're gonna get shunned. You're not gonna get the same opportunities. Yuki has been driving the fucking wheels off cars. He's crashed a few times, right? Okay, I'll
it
give
wasn't
that.
his fault though. It was
I agree
Hulkenberg
with you.
Magnussen normally.
I was gonna say I typically agree with you, man. I'm on your team and on your side and in your corner on this argument. Yeah, I'm with you here. I do think it's absolute fucking bullshit that he has not gotten a first tier seat in Red Bull. I was hoping that Audi was gonna grab him and give him a shot, or another team to
With this Honda
take.
money?
Which is why it didn't make sense. I know, which is why it didn't make
Right.
sense, and which is why it's so fucking complicated. And it's
It is.
also probably why he's not going to remain there at Red Bull. Right?
If Yuki has to go somewhere, I don't think it's the end of the world for him to end up as a reserve driver for Aston Martin if he has to run with his Honda money. Not the end of the
With-
world. Sooner or later, somebody's leaving Aston Martin.
Fucking
This isn't a conspiracy in my mind. This is actually what I was alluding to, and he unfortunately has to stay with this money. It is the business element of the sport of F1. It's the money you bring in to these teams, and that's why he can't just go sign for fucking Mercedes or can't go drive for Audi, right? He's tied and connected to this factory, their engines, and the money that they bring to the sport, which is also the nationalism that comes with that, right? He is Japan's F1 driver. Zhou Guanyu is China's F1 driver. There is significant hundreds of millions of dollars behind these things. It's why it is such a high pressure sport for these younger kids. It's why I draw and harken back to that. I do see like there's no preferential treatment or good gifts given to these kids. Like they don't say shit about the Asian drivers at all, ever. And I think it's pretty blatant racism on FIA, on just F1 as a sport. I also think that like it is kind of like a token thing. Yeah, we have you here because you represent this country. We need a Chinese driver, we need a Japanese driver, we need an American driver, and then we need as many fucking Brits as we can pack in. I don't know where anybody else lands on that, but that's my conspiracy corner topic. And
I would say start kicking them out because I'm sick of George Russell's fucking woody looking ass. Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso both need to get the fuck out. Like at this point, they both need to get the fuck out. And I love Fernando a lot, but both of them need to fucking go. You've been hogging up a seat for 16 fucking years, basically.
No, he left for a while, and they brought him back.
Not that one.
And he immediately started toadying him.
Not that one, the other one.
Oh, my bad. Right.
Fernando's just there because he's old, and I don't want to seem like I'm being biased because I hate Lewis Hamilton. But at the end of the day, like there should be just how there's a minimum age. By the way, Carlo Pinto is 21. Albon was 19 whenever he came into F1. So there is that little tidbit. I forgot about that earlier. ADHD is fine as boys and girls. Anyways, so there should be a minimum age and a fucking maximum age. Once you hit 38, get the fuck out at the end of the season. Done. Like, simply put, done. 21 to 38, you have 17 years of driving.
So if you're 38 years old and you're ripping it up and bringing in money and winning and podiuming and doing all the things you're supposed to do, you just walk away from it.
Yes, absolutely.
We
Because
can't
you're
get
now
politicians
taking
to
up.
leave. We're not going to get entertainment
Bullshit.
to leave.
You
Yeah.
are currently
Points
taking
points
up
in podiums
young drivers.
equal dollars. That's all that matters. Points plus podiums equal dollars equals a seat on the track. We're not going to go back on that. We all agree
How does
on that.
F2 do it? Oh no, I don't disagree. I'm saying this would never
fuck
happen.
cares?
But how does F2 actually handle their championships? Once you win the championship, you can no longer race in F2. You are done.
Yeah. Which is why Doohan is struggling, and other guys are looking for a drive.
Dude's intentionally sandbagging in case they need a second year.
Right?
Exactly that.
So,
Because
there are other series, they're just not as cool. Like WEC, you can only jam so many former and maybe future F1 champions into WEC. So it is what
So this then begs a question. So if you had it your way, and we pluck Alonso and Hamilton and whoever else you may have mentioned out right now or going into 25, who gets those seats?
Yuki could take the Aston Martin seat. Hajar could come up to the fucking free RB seat. Hamilton, wherever the fuck he's going. I mean, we could have just gotten rid of him, kept Sainz at fucking whatchamacallit, kept Carlo Pinto at Williams, and then Kimi Antonelli's coming into the Mercedes seat anyways. Literally, boom, done. That's literally it. There's a reason why most drivers have retired before 38 years old. And yes,
That's
the fact
what's
that
sucking.
these
It's
two
different.
are world champions. I'm not taking anything away from either one of them, other than the fact that they're now road blocking seats. Because what is going to happen if Ferrari shits the bed in 26? Like, they absolutely fuck the regulations. What happens
I
then?
see what
You know
you're
who else?
saying.
You know who else is blocking seats? The teams. They're not
Helmut
letting
Marko?
another team in to give 2 more seats. The
Oh,
whole
I don't
flume that
disagree.
didn't want any other team in there.
Yeah.
Do not
Yeah.
get me started on the Andretti thing. Please do not get me started on the Andretti thing.
We'll
Oh,
put that in.
you know what?
Say that separate.
I got to lead
Say
in
that
for
next
that.
week.
Yeah.
Next week,
Well,
we're going to do engine next week.
That's a whole
Okay.
episode topic.
I'll bring my
Great deal.
angry farmer stick
Oh.
next week and talk about engines. We'll go now?
Oh no,
Want
no,
to
I
go
was
now?
saying
Or later?
no. I thought you had later. Meg,
Later.
we're just kind of spitballing, free falling in the ending closing minutes. What do you got? What do you want to wrap with?
How about, hold on a second here.
Your engine thing.
I just got an email from Haas. I don't know why, but
Oh.
it said mission
What?
accomplished. And in the email, I kid you not,
Nico Hulkenberg
should-
was fucking scoring points.
ninth, and then it was Mag DNF. It was the funniest email. They're like, mission accomplished. I'm like, how low is the bar? Now, one of your drivers fails to finish the race. The other one gets 2 points, and you're like, woo! It's like that guy celebrating like off the podium, like, fuck yeah!
You mean like Donald Trump celebrating email? Oh, sorry.
America.
God.
Anyway,
I mean,
I'm
right.
happy for these smaller teams. They're getting the money from those points. It's very valuable points. But like, I don't know. Social media is maybe not Haas's thing. And they had a Gunter for so long. Like, they didn't need social media. That dude was just pure gold. I digress.
It's pretty hard to celebrate when you're just trying to score points. Yeah. Meg, jump in here though. I think you had something.
I mean, I feel like it's a great race for them when Magnussen doesn't try to kill Nico Hulkenberg.
To be fair, he's left Nico alone this year for the most part. He's just tried to kill everybody else.
I'm surprised that he
Nope.
didn't just drive through everyone this race because he came back with no points.
We'll call that as a we were
that
wrong.
man has a license to murder right now.
I was gonna say, I think
highly
the entire
disappointed.
world realized that, like, yeah, like he's got free reign. This is his last year, and yeah, like he's got a license to kill. He's got no points now. We were right about that, yeah. So we'll call that, but we were wrong in that he didn't cause a crash this weekend. Do you
What
think
if
it's
he's
because
just
everybody
waiting?
everybody knew and called it, like the entire court of public opinion was just like, this motherfucker's gonna wreck somebody.
He probably got behind his
Coda,
wheel and
he
was
just
like,
goes
"No, I'm just
bowling
not
for
gonna do
everybody.
it."
How fucking insane would it be if he did just like take Max out and give Lando the championship?
To be fair,
Just
you have to get
just
up
to
and
be
first.
disruptive and chaotic. Like no
Well, you
other
gotta get
reason.
up
Like
there.
it's not like he cares. Yeah.
I
So
almost
you
had
guys
it
remember
set
Helmet with Nico?
just to like see what he would do. I
Aside,
just wanted
he's
to
a-
watch just chaos unfold, and he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
No.
got to remember,
Lame ass
remember,
motherfucker.
Rich, Nico and K-Mag used to give Max toes earlier in the season. They like Max.
Yeah.
So if they're going to cause chaos, they're going to take out Lando.
It's true.
Which
It's
Lando's
actually
whole
true.
new supervillain
Yeah.
arc is kind of fucking wonky and weird, and he needs to go back to the goofy fucking kid.
He needs
Yeah.
yes, it's so fucking disingenuous and not him, and nobody's gonna respect this. Like, stop. No. No, you're not an anti-hero that we can respect your dark side. You're a whiny little
even
bitch,
his-
and we need
even
you
his
to be a good boy.
picture- Even his picture's weird now.
Yeah.
That whole
No, you-
shadowed look, like, what are you?
You take your young ass down and stop trying to grow facial hair and fucking pretend like you're a man. Like we're not having this shit. Yeah, I don't believe in you. Now get the fuck off.
I just can't wait.
He's
Be
becoming
your
way too serious.
be your little barely drinking age self. Play your fucking sim racing with Max. Play that up. This is who you are, boy. Like don't get it.
You are the
Weird.
sidekick.
Yeah. You're fucking around with grown men on a racetrack. Fernando Alonso's got like fucking more years on F1 than you've been alive. Like, knock it the fuck off. Yeah, I'm not here for this shit. Change that narrative.
You're right, I think.
Yeah, like barely. Like, no, he's Alonso's got, I think, 21 years, 21 years, maybe 22. Damn near like as long as Lando's been alive. Yeah.
Hold on.
I've been doing this shit
I've
since you
gotta
were
Google
shitting in
this
Pampers, child.
So
Don't fucking come in here with your little
2001 was his
whack ass
first-
So many-
goatee
so many
trying to act like you're a
feelings.
man. No, I'm just mad aggressive about it. Like, yeah,
so if
Settle
No,
down,
maybe he's
half
been
my
really
age,
annoying with,
child.
Like
So
the too much pressure on himself, and like he's been fun for years, and then all of a sudden, now that he's competitive, he's like, I'm a serious F1 driver. No, you're not.
so Lando was
Yeah.
2
Thank
whenever
you.
Fernando started.
Yeah,
Second
Exactly.
off,
I've been doing this
Second
shit
off
since you
here.
were shitting in Pampers.
he hadn't figured out toilets yet,
exactly.
Yeah.
and he's trying to act more mature than Fernando is.
Yeah.
That's
You
not
should have
hard.
tried to be acting more
To be fair,
mature.
that's really not hard.
Hey, Fernando took down Schumacher.
I
You
fucking love
bite your tongue.
Fernando,
I'm not taking.
and I
do
love
not
how much he
even start
doesn't
that
like
shit, Rich.
Lance.
You won't
Stroll,
fucking disrespect his
and
name.
He doesn't care.
I'm
Like
not.
he just doesn't even hide it.
Thank you.
the fact that
I-
he doesn't
I
like Lance Stroll,
love it.
Yeah, it's hilarious
Huh?
because he just
Oh, yeah,
he just
I love
glares
how
at the
he
dude like the idiot he is.
He doesn't even glare at him. He just looks at him like,
He just has to look at him like any of us will look at, like with confusion, like, why, you dumb fuck? Like, God.
he looks like
So
a Muppet.
We all know why you're here. This is embarrassing for all of us. Why can't you figure that out?
So
You're
here's
just
my
embarrassing
real
your family.
question. Here's my real question here. Lando's already cracking under pressure because I think Singapore was
Yeah.
him trying to prove himself so much that he was cracking himself, and that's why he ended up in the wall twice. If this continues going, and it gets to the point where him and Max are getting ready to go into Brazil or Abu Dhabi, and they are close, even, is he going to fuck up and lose?
I think a lot of that pressure is also coming from McLaren because I mean, Oscar's coming for him, and McLaren has basically said, we don't have a 1 and 2 driver.
Well, that was
I
up
think
until
he's putting
Baku,
some-
wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it was. But regardless,
Yeah.
no, I don't
Yeah,
disagree.
it was.
And if they lose by anything more than fucking 15 points, holy shit, is the world going to fucking explode.
And then
And
McLaren's
I'm
going to look
gonna-
stupid.
I hope they lose by 1 fucking point. No. I take that back. I hope it's 2 fucking points. So that way they cannot say a fucking word about Ricardo. Going like, fuck you and your Grand Slam, you little bitch. This is what you get for running me out of the seat.
Oof.
Because everybody wants to say, oh, Christian Horner, puppet master, No, that is straight spite out of Ricardo. If that was his last fucking race to take away Lando's Grand Slam, the only one that he's probably going to have a chance at this year, to take that the fuck away from him is more than anything else you can do to that boy right now. And it gives Zach Brown a nice little fuck you as well.
It is. It's also, a big dig at
Such
McLaren of
a
like,
Red
man,
Bull fanboy.
you coulda- you-
spoken like
didn't-
a true fangirl.
yeah, if
Okay,
you
Lewis
don't
Humper.
love me at my weakest, then you won't love me when I'm strong. It's also one of those things we have discussed repetitively. Yeah, I know I love Daniel Ricciardo, maybe more than I realized.
That interview last night was gut wrenching. Oh,
Yeah, it was.
it's on F1.com. It was bad. Like, it was tears ever. It was onions in the room, ninjas cutting onions.
That was the one with Bortoletto. That was the one with
yeah, I believe so.
Bortoletto?
Yeah. And it was partly good because you couldn't see what Bortoletto was wearing, so you were able to stay on focus, task, whatever he was interviewing about. It wasn't distracting anything.
It was
Fucking
handled
whiny
well.
weirdos.
Actually, Bortoletto and I had a little exchange about that interview on Instagram.
Ooh,
So
fancy dancy. Big J journalist
What was
over
he
here.
wearing?
But yeah.
I have told him that I want one pair of his shoes that I really like, though. And one
Okay.
pair that
I can't
He's got-
take him seriously. I really can't.
He's got good taste in
He-
pants.
Look, that guy, his written journalism is really good.
His
It's
video
So
is
yeah,
good, too.
respect on his name. That motherfucker knows this sport. It has the intellectualism I
He's-
aspire to achieve when it comes to
good.
F1. Absolutely agree with you. Some of the best written journalism. Fashion, yeah. I mean, I want to know who gives
So-
him pants.
If he's talking, I want to punch babies. Like, seriously. Because it is what it is. But if I'm reading an
It's like
article by
early
him-
aughts internet jargon. Yeah.
But if it's a written article by him, I can sit down and read the whole fucking thing and be just fine. Like, it's the way he
he's
presents himself and everything else. I cannot do it.
Man has a PhD in Formula One. And is
Yeah,
a
he
good
does.
instructor to us all. Yeah, love it. Hey, we're gonna go ahead and wrap, but this has been episode 8. Thank you all for listening and tuning in. We will be back on next week, and we're gonna talk about 2012. I think Greg wants to talk about 2012. So
Yeah.
None of that.
we're gonna-
Hold on. 2012.
I'm gonna get mad and
Andretti.
swear at Jay.
Joe.
We
And
take notes now.
Logan. Yeah, I'm taking notes for next week.
thank you. We do need a scribe. Yeah, I will get mad and swear at Jay over something about 2012. We will have our recurring
Battle was
topics. We
gone.
were right,
There's
we were
nothing
wrong.
to argue.
I actually don't disagree with you on that. Okay, maybe we won't argue. I'll yell at Greg instead. But you'll
Fair.
get with us next week, and yeah, we'll be talking about 2012, Mercedes dominance, and why Lewis Hamilton is the greatest driver of all time. Thank
And
you
I'll
all.
do a debrief. I'll do a debrief with Megan on being thrown to the wolves. She was thrown to the wolves today.
Thank you. Yeah. Also, thank you to our first guest on Formula One Fans of America, Meg. Thanks for coming on. We hope to have you back soon. Probably every week, maybe. But thank you. Yeah, it was great.
Thank you.
Awesome.